Hey guys, what's up? So I'm sitting with Ira. Obviously, you know Ira. She's a topper of this year examination, and she will be giving the tips to the Unacademy student about how to prepare for civil services. And thank you, Ira, for being here. It was my complete pleasure.
My pleasure as well. And guys, it's Roman's birthday today, so first we'll cut the cake.
And thank you, Ira, for you bringing this cake to me. And it's a pleasure for me to cut this cake. It was the first time ever someone has did it for the last so many years.
We've been remiss. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Roman. Oh wow. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh no, you have to eat first. Your birthday.
Thank
okay,
you.
guys.
And here a little bit for she being the topper. She really likes chocolate.
Yeah.
So I'll here on Ira will take care of it. And hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. Have an awesome day.
Hey guys, what's up? This is me, Ira Singhal, and I'm here to talk to you about how I did it in CSE this year. While I realize what I may say may not resonate with all of you, but I hope some of you will get some tips on how I did it and might just help some of you, yeah? Okay, let's see. So, just a little bit about myself. I got the first rank this year, and I'm doing this video so that, I can help some of you out there who've been asking me questions and who've been fighting this exam and fighting this battle for so many years. And hopefully some things of what I say will kind of help you guys out with whatever you're dealing with. Just so do spread this word, tell people about this, because this is a venture which Roman Sir has undertaken and from what I hear has been helping a lot of people out. So, and also if you have any queries and you have any doubts, you can post your comments on this Facebook page, that's his page, or you can put the comments here on the video down below. Yeah, okay. So Roman, along with his friend Gaurav, has been running this series called Unacademy, and it's been helping a lot of students and across the country. So hopefully this will help you guys out as well. Just to give you an idea, my marks. So I didn't do all that great in prelims because, I tend to not prepare for prelims. I feel like, whatever I've prepared for mains should do that. So this is where I did. I think the cutoff for general category this year was 2,205 and I am just there at 206. Thank you, environment questions. That was brilliant. 40 questions of environment. So, yay! As someone who knows nothing about it, 206 kind of sailed me through. Okay, so then coming to mains, which is what I really prepare for. I got 116 essay. That's up from my last year's score. Again, GS1 103, GS2 122, GS3 95, GS4 we have 135. And my optional, which is geography, I have 168 in paper 1 and 137 in paper 2, which totals out to 305. Again, didn't do brilliantly in interviews. I tend to not do all that great in interviews where they ask me factual questions. So this year I was asked questions about the land acquisition bill and MAT, which is minimum alternate tax, apparently. Didn't know that. I guess a couple more factual questions which I didn't know. I did really well on the parts wherein I had to answer questions about my DAF and my personality and my hobbies and all. But I kind of not do well when it is about factual stuff. So I guess I'm losing marks there. Okay, so now let me just start with how I did the preparation. Like I mentioned before, I did not prepare at all for prelims. So my preparation is only about mains. So first thing that I did was I tried not to worry about things that I wasn't all that comfortable with. So what I did was I only prepared those topics that I was completely comfortable sitting through and completely comfortable doing. Mainly because I have a problem in mugging up. I just can't do that. So all the data and the stats and all of that, I don't know any of those. I know nothing in terms of, the percentages for something and all. So anything which required mugging up, I could not do it and I didn't. Which led to me not doing topics like art and culture and environment, where you had to kind of remember all the species and kind of remember what is happening with what species and what grows where. So, like you can see in my performance in prelims was largely environment. So I left topics like art and culture and environment. Roman sir has included art and culture 6 videos, I think, and 18 environment. So all of those who want to prepare it and who aren't as lazy as me should go through those and try getting those topics in. I believe you won't really need to mug up after that. Another thing that I did was I sort of left the map part in geography. Again, that required a lot of mugging up and it required a lot of taking data from the current affairs. Didn't really keep up with my current affairs on a daily basis, so this was also quite tough for me. Again, I left it, so which is what is reflected in my marks for the second paper in geography. Like I did really well in part 1, but part 2, which had the map question and some of the mugging up stuff, I didn't do all that great. Yeah. Then something which I feel you should start with is NCRTs. I believe these are vital. These kind of give you the basics. In fact, I read a lot of specialized books before for certain topics in geography, and then I went to NCRTs, and whatever I had read in specialized books actually got clearer with NCRTs. So, like I said, start with your NCRTs. These are your basic books. If you ignore NCRTs, you will end up with a lot of topics being missed out and a lot of concepts being missed out. In fact, for world history, if you notice, all the questions that have come in the last 2 years come from the 11th and 12th NCRT. Now, I'm not saying just start with those. I personally did 9th and 10th as well because they gave me the grounding and the starting points, which was easier to start from 9th, 10th and then move on to 11th, 12th, which was more specialized and in depth. So, again, I say go with NCRTs and don't ignore them at any cost. But yes, of course, except for a few subjects, they're not complete. For example, for your optional, you will need to know other books, you will need to go through other material. So NCRTs are necessary, but they're not really sufficient. Again, like for polity, you might need to refer to other books. So you need specialization in some of the other areas that you're going to deal with. So one thing that has changed between my 2010 attempt and my 2014 attempt is that the availability of material online. Right now, this attempt, my most dependence was on online sources. I am too lazy to go to the market and to kind of hunt books. So what I would do is, and you know what happens when you do hunting in the ground in the market, you kind of go to one source. But what happens if you do it online is you get multiple sources. You haven't really spent money, you get free material and you get multiple viewpoints, which I think helps in forming your own view and writing the answers. So I personally prefer getting different viewpoints and from wherever I can, and so I try to read as much as possible and as many sources as possible. But that kind of led me to another problem which I did was I could not revise anything. Because if you keep reading so much, and I always start my preparation at last possible minute, you can't really have time to revise. So that was something that I missed out on. I didn't revise anything. And that's something I regret. I should have done that. I would have written much better answers in a lot of the topics had I done that. Like I said, don't recommend this. Don't go to every possible source, because what I did was I wasted a lot of time in hunting and going through all the sources and then not remembering them because you didn't revise them. So I would say just do a few sources, but do more than one. So, do more than one source and not everything possible. Again, okay, so taking particularly the topic of current affairs. Now in 2013, when the syllabus came out, I kind of figured that current affairs is not written clearly in the topic as it used to be in the syllabus, so I sort of left it. And that was a huge mistake on my part because there were a lot of questions which had come from current affairs and I wasn't up to date and I sort of missed answering those. So this year I made sure I did current affairs, but then, you don't beat your laziness, and I'm seriously lazy, like the definition of lazy when it comes to studying. And current affairs is something that you have to kind of do throughout the year. Okay, so dealing with current affairs in specific, I made a mistake last year. Every year when they had the syllabus come out, current affairs as a topic used to be individually mentioned. And in 2013, when they came out with the syllabus, they had removed that word. So I kind of thought that they're not going to ask any current affairs, and I completely skipped it. I did not read a single newspaper, I did not read a single current affairs magazine or a single current affairs handout. And that was my big mistake. That is where I lost a lot of marks. So, but this year I tried to change that. Now, the problem is I'm also extremely lazy, like lazy, with capital letters. And current affairs needs you to work throughout the year. So what I did was I went to online websites and I kind of read all the material in the last minute, you know, and whatever I could find or whatever my friend suggested, I did some parts of it online. Um, Not recommended because I managed to do it. I managed to find the time, but had I done it properly, I would have done a little better with my answers. So I do say read the newspapers daily. It gives you a lot of actual time to absorb stuff. It gives you time to analyze stuff, uh, which is why I do think you should do the newspapers daily. Last minute gets too hectic and you sort of have to cram everything from everywhere. Doesn't give you time to be objective about stuff. Like I said, I was too lazy, so I didn't do any magazines, and so I can't really give you recommendations on those. But I believe there are some good ones out there. Um, and one trick I learned from the papers is that you have to do your current affairs for full 12 months. Okay, so start from the previous 12 months and do your current affairs completely from all of that. Now, a lot of people have been asking me to post my notes and post material that I might have created. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm crazy lazy. I don't do notes. I'm too lazy to make notes. Plus, if you're studying at the last minute, you really don't have the time to make notes. So what I do was, I would read the same topic from multiple books, but I would still not make notes because A, I didn't have the time, and secondly, I was too lazy. So what I do is I go back and read the whole book again, everything. So if I've done 45 books for geography, I have pretty much read all of them again and again. And how I deal with it is I underline the important stuff, and maybe I'll write a couple of words next to the topic. It's next to the paper in the book, so that like make notes here. My understanding, so that I can connect it better later. So lazy people, wait, this is the shortcut for that. Um, like I said, do not follow what I'm doing. This is don't take this as what you should do. Being lazy doesn't help in this exam. See, I had to do it 4 times. I hope you don't have to. If I hadn't been a little proactive in my first attempt, I wouldn't be doing it 4 times. Just my suggestion would be to do whatever works best for you. If note making works best for you, do make notes, because I do think it might make life easier to have everything in the same place. And now, if you notice a pattern of the paper for the last couple of years, it isn't a mugging up paper, it is more about analytical stuff, okay? Which means discussion, discussion, discussion. They ask you to discuss, in fact, in the exam itself. So, what I do is I kind of have these friends who also like discussing stuff with me. And, I debated all with them. Thank you so much to all of them for suffering me through. And the worst part was they were not preparing for civils. So, I would just take something that I had read and call them up and tell them, did you know this? And then force them to discuss it with me. Like I said, thank God for good friends. What it did was it gave me a different viewpoint and viewpoints of people who were not preparing for the exam. Because what tends to happen is that people who are preparing tend to have similar viewpoints because they've read the same material. But if the people aren't preparing, then they have a different viewpoint. They don't really care about impressing the examiner, and they'll give you the honest answers. So this really helped my analytical abilities, and I could do it pretty much better. A lot of people have actually asked me, should we study in groups or should we study in individual? See, what I do is I study my thing individually, and then I go and discuss it in groups. Now, groups, like I mentioned, was not groups of people that was doing civils examination. So I don't really know if you should discuss with the same people or not. But I would discuss it with a couple of my friends, like this poor chap called Robo, who would get really bugged with me, and then my friend Bhavna, and all these other people. And so it helped me. I don't know if you can do the same thing. So okay, so now a lot of you wonder, should you study 20-hour days or should you do 18-hour days or 12-hour days and all. I'm not someone who can do that. I just cannot study throughout the day. But with civils, you kind of have to be sincere and you kind of have to have a routine. So what I would do is I would fix the amount of course I wanted to finish. Like what I would do is if I wanted to do 15 chapters in a day, I would just decide, okay, I'm going to do this much. It could take me 4 hours, it could take me 10 hours, it could take me 18 hours. That didn't matter. What I did was did this bit and not this bit. And what helps in this is that for someone as distracted as me or someone who is that lazy, what it does is you cannot tell yourself you've sat in front of the books for 10 hours, so you've done something. You can only tell yourself you've done something when you've done this thing that you wanted to do, when you've done the 15 things that you wanted to do. So that staring at the book and, staring at the same page for so long and doing the same thing again and again, you don't lie to yourself. That doesn't happen. Unless you finish that particular amount, you've not done what your bit. So for me, the hours didn't matter. What mattered was the course content. Okay. And this way, if I could finish those 15 chapters in 4 hours and be satisfied rather than doing 20 hours, I would have time to do all the multiple hobbies that I had. Those 7,000 things that I like doing, I could do all of them. As far as coaching goes, I think it's not all that vital anymore. You have all these online resources. For example, what Unacademy has been doing, Gaurav and Roman, they've made almost 400 videos, I think, and 100 alone on UPSC preparation. So, what they're doing is that they're giving you a platform where you don't have to spend tons and tons of money to get the same kind of education that you would in a coaching center. So, I took my coaching because at that point there wasn't much material available online, and also I came from a corporate background. I came from a family where nobody had been in the services ever. So, and I was extremely lazy, so I needed to get up and go somewhere. I don't think most of you who are sitting and doing this need it anymore. You've got resources here. You've got video places like Unacademy doing these videos for you, and you have all the other available materials. So, I think what you need to do is kind of figure things out for yourself before you commit to spending a lot of money on this preparation. And this is for free, and I don't know, it works for me. That is what I did in my final attempt, and hopefully it works for most of you. So I'd say just spread the word. So if you like this video, do hit the thumbs up, and you can subscribe to Unacademy, which I think is doing a brilliant job in bringing all these technical topics to all of you. If I had actually seen this, probably I wouldn't have missed my art and culture and environment bits. So thank you guys for making all these videos for all of us preparants out there, all the aspirants. The Facebook address is written there where you can send in your queries if you have any. Plus there's a Twitter handle at the Unacademy and at Roman Saini. Do spread the word for education for all, and hopefully you'll subscribe to these videos. I think it already has close to a lakh subscribers. Wow, that's an awesome thing. Hopefully you guys like this, and hopefully I've been able to help you guys a bit. Thank you so much for listening to me, and have a brilliant day.